back to business. Now, the coronavirus, better known as COVID-19 in the medical community, is a group of viruses that causes respiratory tract illness. The symptoms are severe cough, fantastic, sneezing, and breathing difficulties. Now, the virus broke out in Wuhan district in China and slowly spread to other parts of the world. In 2020, China is already being defined by the outbreak of the COVID-19, with most economists forecasting the Q1 2020 GDP growth to come at between 5.5% in an optimistic case and 4.5% in a pessimistic case from the previously expected 5.9%. Currently, the disease has spread to over 104 countries, with major economies such as Italy, Japan, South Korea, France, Spain, Australia, and the US having all reported multiple cases of the virus within their borders. That's related to the virus. The World Health Organization, WHO, on 11th March 2020 declared the outbreak a global pandemic, raising the risk assessment of the outbreak to very high. Now, a pandemic status is given to a disease or an epidemic that has spread across a large region across the globe and community is inevitable. China, the world's second largest economy, is a global manufacturing hub, and with the country in lockdown, a majority of developed and developing economies are beginning to experience the negative effects of the virus due to the disruption of the global supply chain. Now, the fear of contracting the virus is also perceived to be spreading faster than the virus itself, having sparked fear across the globe, with the people being driven by emotional contagion and rushing to stock up on items such as hand sanitizers, gloves, and face masks, with online sales for these products having risen, now wait for it, 817% between January and February. Now, that is the graph indicating the mortality rate per age group. Now, as we wait so we can show you that graph, now, without brief therefore, how has the pandemic affected the global economy? Now, comparing COVID-19 therefore and SARS, what is the impact so far? Let's therefore look at the effects of the Kenyan economy. The people are now working from home, but what economy implications does it have? That's exactly the questions that we are talking about this morning. And joining us in the studio, it is Felix Owuor. He is an investment analyst at Saiton Investments. Mr. Owuor, welcome to Metropole Television.
Thank you.
I want us to look at SARS and where we are right now with the COVID-19 pandemic. We didn't know SARS took us about 3 months.
Yeah,
5 months, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now we're talking about the COVID-19, which is expected to last longer.
Yeah.
Does that mean, therefore, that the effects of the economy also worldwide and local are going to be long?
Yeah, definitely they will have to be long,
Yes.
because the impact for COVID-19 so far, we've seen the world spend a lot more
Yes.
than what they spent in combating SARS.
Yes.
And the global, in terms of global reach, the COVID-19 has spread to a lot of countries as compared to SARS, and therefore we expect the impact for COVID-19 to be higher
Yes.
than that for SARS.
Pretty much, isn't it? I want to point you out to our local economy now before we look at exactly the quarters that we expect to be hit further and further. And I want to point you out to the first day when we actually announced our first case here in the country. What do you see? Stronger quarters in our boosts, like KCB and Safaricom. KCB dropped by 5.4% and Safaricom by 7%.
Yeah.
Does that show you, therefore, how our investors are? And is that just an effect by our bourse being dominated by just international investors as opposed to local investors?
Yeah, definitely. So
Yes.
for Kenya is a frontier market, and so most of the investors we have in the country are foreigners.
Yes.
And so when Kenya first announced its first case of the coronavirus, we saw a lot of these foreign investors looking to exit the market. We saw the Security Exchange halting trade at
Yes.
the exchange after the NSE 20 lost by 5%.
Yes.
So they invoked the guidelines of trading to stop the market from deteriorating further.
Yes.
And in terms of year to date, the NSE 20 lost by 20%, which breaches the threshold for a bear market. So yeah, on the first day, we really saw how the investors were
Yes.
reacting. Yeah.
Yes, but I was looking at international indices as well.
Yeah.
I mean, they were shy of the bear market.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at most of them, even the Dow Jones, we look at it, but the biggest news was that which is a few points shy of the bear market.
Yeah.
But in Kenya, we did breach
Yeah.
that threshold, therefore.
Yes,
What
we
is what does it show you, therefore, in terms of, well, Kenya just a day later and then, poof, we've gone beyond the bear market threshold?
So for what it shows us is that Kenya still has a lot to do.
Yes.
With Safaricom and the banking sector controlling, jointly they control about 70%. So,
Yes.
And Safaricom and the banking sector is where a lot of our foreign investors are focusing on. So really, when they exit the market, it will immediately have an impact on
Yes.
the exchange. Yeah.
Yes.
So really, we have to find ways to actually bring up the other sectors where we can see investors now spreading out to the other sectors. Yeah.
Yes. I want to point you out to also the NSE All Share Index as well, which we do know right now are shared by around 11% in terms of the trading points. Does that also show you then that there's a trickle-down effect, not just from the blue chip companies in the country, but also the other companies also that we have on the books as well?
Yes, it does. Because
Yes.
when the blue chip companies are not performing well, definitely we do not expect investors to go and invest in the relatively small companies. So
Yes.
yeah, it has a trickle effect down to the small companies.
Pretty much, isn't it? Therefore, let's really look at the potential impact on our GDP. And I want to point you out to exactly where we are coming from now. I want to take you back to the global decline in terms of GDP. If you look at what SARS did, we're talking about around 0.25%.
Yeah.
And that took us 5 months, isn't it, to settle?
Yeah.
We're talking about this one now being potentially longer than the 5 months that we talk about SARS.
Yeah.
Now, let's look at hotel occupancy. Now, we do know also that our economy is supported heavily by the tourism and hospitality sector, which was number 3 in 2019 in terms of foreign exchange earners into the economy.
Yeah.
Now, if you go to China alone, where we also do know that we get a lot of tourists, an 85% decline in tourist numbers.
Yeah.
Go back to where we are right now, we're already talking about 82%. It's going to take longer, so these numbers might be looking a bit different as well.
Yeah.
Passenger transportation, 70% decline for SARS. Right now, so far, when we're talking about right now, COVID-19 is already at 70% and bound to go further, therefore.
Yeah.
When we look at these areas, does that mean, therefore, that when we're talking about our economy, which some analysts have already put at 4.5%, do you expect us to get deeper hits from the COVID-19?
Yes, we do expect it.
Yes.
On a best case scenario, we're looking at a 10% decline in GDP if we manage to contain it early.
Yes.
Worst case scenario, if we don't manage to contain it, we are looking at a 25% hit
Yes.
in terms of our GDP. For tourism, it contributes about 1.3% to our GDP as at Q3 2019. And therefore, with the numbers going down, we are going to see this reflect on our GDP. The hospitality sector is already hit in terms of tourists, in terms of MICE who are coming into the country. We've seen the president himself cancelling a few meetings he had.
Yes.
Yeah, so we expect to see this impact in terms of our GDP.
Yes. Some analysts are saying 5.5%.
Yeah.
Others are saying 4.5%.
Yeah.
From where you're sitting this morning, what will you put it at? I mean, let's understand it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
So from where we sit, we are looking at between 4.8 to 5.3. Yeah.
4.8 to 5.3.
Yeah.
All right, let me therefore paint you another picture as well. Now, we're talking about the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. CAPSA already says that if you look at manufacturing, it's also going to be affected on a bigger level. Our exports, because they're not getting imports now from China, we do understand that even the ships have not docked from China as we speak now, that you do expect that to be a bigger hit. Also pointing you to the effects of the locust infestation again in the country. It is targeting agriculture, which is number one, will ever be, has ever been. Does that mean that 5.3 is being optimistic therefore?
Yeah, the 5.3 is really being optimistic.
Yes.
And in terms of when you read the KEPSA report, KEPSA is saying on a study conducted at around 65% of the businesses, they're saying a lot of these businesses are complaining that they will have to ask their employees to work from home, but it's not as simple as just telling them, we require you to work from home. There are certain measures you have to take to enable you work
Yes.
from home.
Yes.
For instance, let's say a company does not give laptops to their employees. For you to be able to work from home, it means I have to provide laptops for my employees, and
Yes.
therefore my expenses are going to go up. They're also looking at the lead times for obtaining the goods, whereby the supply sector has already been hit, with China contributing to about 21% of our imports.
Yes.
And therefore they're already projecting a shortage in intermediate goods, which also spills over to the manufacturing sector. So really it's a tough situation where we are right now.
It's a tough situation where we are right now, and in your report you've actually gone to highlight some of those areas you say are already in the red.
Yeah.
You've said tourism sector,
Yeah.
agriculture sector, manufacturing sector, and the health sector.
Yeah.
But when you look at these sectors that you've highlighted, therefore, when you talk about manufacturing sector, it's the one that the government has been trying to prop up
Yeah.
in the big four agenda. When you look at agriculture, it's also on a bigger focus as well from the government. The tourism sector as well has been among the top earners, therefore.
Yeah.
Are these the areas that, in reality, when you look at the effects of the COVID-19, that's exactly where we need to put our focus into?
Yes, we need to put our focus into, because these sectors that you've mentioned,
Yes.
unfortunately for us, most of them are the backbone of our economy.
Yes.
If we look at agriculture, Kenya is heavily dependent on agriculture, and therefore with our export market having declined,
Yes.
we are definitely in the red.
Yes.
In terms of tourism, contributing to about 1.3%. We've already seen the government setting aside 500 million just to cushion the tourism sector.
Yes.
So yeah, it's going to be really tough. Manufacturing, which is part of the Big Four agenda, yeah. So really,
Those are the areas that we really need to look at now.
Yeah.
If we really need to stay afloat in this
Yeah.
pandemic,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
I want to point you out as well. I mean, in 2019, we did get the biggest announcement that now diaspora remittances into the country and actually surpassed
Yeah.
bigger areas like tourism in terms of also being among the biggest earners of foreign exchange.
Yeah.
But even look at exactly where we're coming from. This pandemic is a global,
Yeah.
has global effects as well. Do we expect also to get a hit on diaspora remittances? Because even as we talk right now, other economies are on a lockdown as well.
Yeah.
It's only Kenya that is on a lockdown now.
Yeah.
Yes.
so for diaspora remittances in 2019, we saw it increase, but this was attributable to the tax amnesty by the government.
Yes.
And then right now with the corona virus pandemic, we expect it to severely be suppressed.
Yes.
Because like you've rightly mentioned, it's affecting the global economy, and therefore for Kenyans who are abroad, they also need to, for them to be able to remit their remittances, they need to be able to sustain themselves
Yes.
out there.
Yes.
And if it's affecting the global economy, it means that definitely their disposable income will go down.
Yes.
For wherever countries they are in.
Yes.
So therefore it will take a hit. Yeah.
We have to take a hit. Therefore, is it therefore okay for us to celebrate news like Donald Trump coming up with an economic package that is the tune of $1 trillion US dollars to actually prop up the economy at this time?
Yes, in terms of diaspora remittances,
Yes.
it will be good for us. So yeah, it's a good thing that we are seeing other countries
Yes.
introducing the stimulus package for their economies.
Yes. I also want to point you out to some of the international indices that we're talking about right now. If you look at the NASDAQ index, we look at the FTSE 100, look at the Dow as well. They're all on the negative, or they're just recovering marginally, therefore.
Yeah.
Does that start to paint a grim reality, therefore, for our economy, which we do know is dependent on consuming as opposed to giving out as well?
Yes, it does.
Yes.
They've already started been talks about a global recession.
Yes.
We can see it in the indices. So
Yes.
The US already has.
Which was actually my next question now.
Yeah. So
yes.
the US already
Yes.
has closed their market 2 times this week. So really, it's a grim picture for our economy.
Yes. Now, finally, therefore, even as we try to understand all this, therefore, as well, would you say that we are headed for a recession? I mean, even talking about the national indices being on negatives, and some of them, I mean, you did see what the Fed did for the very first time, even opening and coming up in announcements on Sunday when markets are actually closed. And if you look at it, even the Feds now, they're cutting down interest rates even beyond what they did in the 2008 financial crisis. That shows you that we're in the red. Are we headed there now?
So in terms of the Fed cutting their monetary policy rates,
yes,
we also expect the Monetary Policy Committee for Kenya,
yes,
they're sitting on Monday.
Which was going to be my next question.
So we hope to see that they will adopt the status quo and actually reduce the rate here in Kenya.
Yes.
In terms of global recession, a pandemic is not something that world over you are sitting and anticipating. So it's really hard to tell at the moment, but all indications are that
towards a recession.
We are heading towards a recession.
Yes, good. Now we're talking about the MPC as well. You did see some of the draft measures that the Central Bank of Kenya Governor Dr. Patrick Njoroge was actually trying to outline yesterday in his brief to the president the other day. People say that's not enough. Because then you gotta talk about how you're going to cushion the economy from these effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. Now they're sitting on March 23rd. Right now, we do have it at 8.25%. Do you expect it to go lower?
Yes, we do, by about 100 bips. So we are looking at the CBK cutting it to 7.25%,
yes,
which is still not enough.
Yes.
But we also don't expect them to take drastic measures such as the Fed, where they cut it extremely. So, but yeah, we are anticipating for them to cut it by around 100 bips to 7.25%.
Some analysts will tell you, wow, they're not going to do it because they're sort of tied as well. Because they're saying that even 8.25%, I mean, you saw the last reduction, they just did it by 25 basis points to just 8.25%. They look already tied because they said that it wasn't even clear, because if the Central Bank of Kenya Governor Dr. Njoroge really wanted to take it lower, then he should have done it to around 8%. Why do you put it at 100 bips?
So the 25 bips cut that we saw earlier was really unprecedented.
Yes.
Even when you look at the statement they issued, there was really no concrete reason on why they were prompted to cut it to 0.25.
Yes.
Also, the trend has always been that they cut it by at least 50 basis points. And therefore, for now, there are reasons that they have to really cut in order to boost the economy. So factoring in these reasons, and for them that they're trying to spur up the economy, to cushion the economy, we expect them that they really have to cut. Also looking at what the other governments are doing, the other central banks. So it will, even if they don't have the room to cut, and even on their last press statement when they cut, they said the economy is still operating under its potential. So they actually will have to cut it.
They'll have to. They're at that point where they have to, isn't it? All right. But I want to talk to you therefore about issues again for currency volatility, because we do know if the cheap imports are not coming from China, now traders are looking for ways therefore to actually get their imports into the country. What do you say therefore that our shilling, as we do know of it now at this period, as of March 23rd, we might expect it to even start performing poorly against international currencies now?
So for our shilling, it's already started depreciating. It was at around 104.25 as at yesterday. So for our importers, without the cheap imports from China, they will have to source for other areas where they can import, and therefore they'll have to demand more of the dollar because the other alternatives are quite expensive. So therefore, our shilling will begin to depreciate.
Yes, and I'm very sure that you're quite aware of the Central Bank of Kenya's plan to keep on buying US dollars from the Kenyan market. How do these two factors therefore meet now in this plan? Are they going to be forced to stop?
It's really a catch-22 for the central bank because at one moment they were announcing that they want to buy back the US dollars up to about 100 billion over the next 4 months, and now they are faced with this situation where guys will now start demanding more of the dollar. So really it will be a tough balancing act for the central bank, where
Yes.
they'll have to find a line in between
Yes.
buying back the dollars and supplying the dollars into the economy.
Yes. But when you look right now, or with the way that the world is reacting therefore to the COVID-19 pandemic, have economies sort of said, let's concentrate on ourselves right now, as opposed to thinking about what Kenya is doing, what Italy is doing, what China is doing, so that once we have our issues solved, then we can start thinking of exactly how to help ourselves. And what does that leave our economy, like Kenya, which we do know is heavily dependent on the performance of the world economy?
So unfortunately for us, yes, the other economies are focusing on themselves. They're
Yes.
trying to overcome the pandemic themselves, and therefore the Kenyan government will have to really step up. They will have to put their foot down and
Yes.
try to cushion the economy without depending on the other economies.
Yes.
Yeah.
But is that really possible? I mean, if 21% of our imports of war come from China, when we say that the government has to really pull up their socks, what ways do you really, where do they start from? Because even yesterday, people expected more.
Yeah.
But they didn't get what they actually did expect.
So what we had yesterday were more or less were just I'd say statements.
Yes.
The government said that we are looking at they want to introduce fiscal measures to cushion the economy.
Yes.
But our government, are they willing to actually provide the tax reliefs for our businesses? They need to start here. They need to start providing tax reliefs. They need to look at waiving VAT for the essential items such
Yes.
as masks, the sanitizers. They need to start looking at releasing the VAT refunds for the SMEs, because during this period the SMEs are going to really struggle, and therefore the government needs to do more. And yeah, mostly on focusing on the tax amnesties for these SMEs.
Yes, that's exactly where they need to begin from.
Yeah.
For us to see that, well, they're trying to cushion the economy,
Yeah.
isn't it? Okay, finally, therefore, I know you've done a comparison of the effects of SARS and now the COVID-19. Do you expect COVID-19 to hit the Kenyan economy more than the SARS did?
Yes, COVID-19 will hit the economy more.
Yes.
If you compare SARS and in terms of their impact on the Kenyan economy, really the closest pandemic that was that hit the Kenyan economy was the H1N1 back in 2009.
Yes.
So really big, and H1N1 was the impact, we really felt the impact.
Yes.
And now we have COVID-19 that is actually now in Kenya. It's not a matter of areas around Kenya.
It is in
actually-
Kenya
yeah,
now. So we
it's
have
now-
to come up with our own ways of stopping it.
Yeah,
Isn't it?
yeah.
Yes. And that's why you say that the effects might be bigger.
Yeah, the effects will definitely be bigger.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go into asking you whether you're scared or not, because I don't know you're not scared. But Award, thank you very much for coming to Metropole TV, the studio. Guess what? If you really want to learn more of that report, you can actually get it from the Site on Investments website as well. So you can actually get to interact and see what the effects would be of the COVID-19 pandemic. This morning, we're speaking to Award from Site on Investments. Now, you do know exactly where that is. You can take him back to when he came to the studio this morning, or when we started our business brief this morning, all the way on YouTube at Metropole TV KE, across all our social media platforms. And don't forget, talk to us, 20146. My name is Simba Elijah Charles Kiage. I'll meet you at 11, 12, and 1 for Metropole News. Good morning.